Okay guys, today I wanted to show you guys how to make your own bleeding tool, kind of like the one from Tim Holtz, but just so that you don't have to buy it. It's been on my buying list for about, I don't know, a month, and I keep on buying other things instead of it because I've been using, you know, just other ways to bleed the stuff. But I decided to make my own because I had a couple of things and it just made me think, so I made it. So what you're gonna need is a piece of sticky foam, but it needs to be sticky on both sides. So I made this, but you can just run the tape runner through it if you want to. I use this Xyron, I think that's how you say it, to make it sticky on both sides. Or if you don't have this and you're gonna use a smaller edge for your thing, you can do these double-sided foams that pop up usually your work, but these are already double-sided. It's sticky on this side, and then you take off this part here to make it sticky again on the other side. So you're gonna need that. You're gonna need a piece of felt, and just as much as you want to make, because you can do your I'll explain later, but you know, just at least something like this. And then you're also going to need Velcro. I'm using Velcro dots, but you can use the strips if you need to, or if you have those. I just went through all my stuff that I had and tried to find things that, you know, I didn't have to buy, because that was the whole point. I didn't want to pay $5. I know that's cheap, but I didn't want to pay $5 because I usually have other things that I'd rather buy with that money. And, you know, I already had a lot of things that I could use at home for the same purpose, so I decided just to go ahead and make it. It probably doesn't work, you know, 100% as well as it. I don't know, I haven't used the other tool before, but I think it works great for what I'm doing. But anyway, you need Velcro, and the other part that you're gonna need is I put various things here to give you an example of the things that I found around my house, but something that kind of you can hold, because that's where you're gonna put your felt on the bottom side of it. So these are the things that I found that I think would work good. And then I also wanted to point out that, you know, if you are gonna use like an old nail polish, don't use the ones that are really small on the bottom, because that's the surface that you're gonna be covering with felt to do the actual bleeding. So this is really tiny here, and it wouldn't work. So you need something. This one's okay. I mean, all of the ones that I found are too little. I wanted to find something bigger, but I didn't want to go and buy something, because that was the whole point, you know, making it out of things that I already had, and, you know, using things that would probably go in the trash. This way, you know, you're saving money and, you know, conserving, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and then here, this is another thing that wouldn't work. First of all, because this isn't flat, you have to have something that's completely flat, or it's not gonna work. And you see how this dips in, you know, you can't use that. Also, the part on the top, it's not sturdy enough, so if you were to try to do the bleeding, it wouldn't work. This here, I found that it works. It actually still has the pills, but you know, if you had something like this, it would work, because this is flat here, and then this gives you like a good control to handle it. So this would actually work pretty well. But yeah, my pills are still in there, so I'm not gonna use this one. Also, I wanted to point out, I know my hands are really, really dirty, and it's not because I'm just, you know, not clean. It's because I was working on tags, you know. So yeah, this is the one I was working on. So it got really, my hands really dirty, but still. So this is the one that I actually did, the original one that I found with this. It's just a piece of wood that came with these, I think it was like a stackable shoe thing where you put the shoes, and then this was if you wanted to attach, I think, multiple of them together, but I only had two and I used them separately. So these were extra that came in the package, and you know, usually I would just throw them away, but I decided to keep them, and eventually I did ended up using, you know, these, so it was probably a good idea. This is it's from my printer, And it's pretty flat right here. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. I haven't tried it, but you know, if you have this and you want to try, go ahead and see if it works. And then the nail polish, it's pretty flat too, and it gives you a bigger surface than, you know, the one that I was saying, this one over here. So anyway, what I'm gonna use today though, it's gonna be this one, which I don't like it as great because you can't really handle it as much as this, so I might end up, you know, using this eventually. But for right now, just because it makes it easier to see, I'm gonna use this one. And so what you're gonna need to do first is get your Velcro, and when you open these, I stuck together because great, it's not coming off, but I found these at the 99-cent store. But you're gonna need not the part that's soft, you're gonna need the rough side of it. So these you can, you know, save them for something else, or you know, you're just gonna need this side here. So unstick it, and you're gonna stick it to the bottom side of this on the flat side. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stick it there, and then I'm gonna use the other one. I'm just using two because my surface is really small, but you know, you might need more. And then I'm gonna stick this one in there, and that's just the base. I mean, you can make this pretty if you really wanted to. If you have another piece of wood, you can just, that looks more like the bleeding tool, you can use that instead. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that, and that's gonna give me, you know, the part where I'm gonna stick my felt on. Now you're gonna need your felt, and you're gonna have to measure this part here to cut out a square that's exactly the same side, and your felt, and your foam, sorry, I said felt the first time. But since this one is easier to work with for me because my surface is almost the exact same, you know, as this is thick, but you're gonna have to cut out a little square. So measure it and then just cut along a little square, and you'll end up getting something like what I'm gonna get here. But I don't have a lot of time because I was talking on and on and on. So you're just gonna get a piece of this and cut it off. I'm gonna cut it a little bit big and then bring it up so I can see it because I'm trying to look through the camera. So, you know, just, it can be a little bit larger, but not too much because you want it to be secure on there. And so once you have your piece of foam, and you're gonna get the sticky side, and you're gonna get a piece of felt, and then you're gonna stick it down. You're gonna stick it down at a corner or wherever, but you know, I'm using the corner because it's easier. And then you're just gonna cut it out. And then you are gonna take this other sticky side off. Okay guys, sorry about that. Anyway, I don't know if you noticed the interruption, but I couldn't get the sticky part off, so I had to turn it off so I could do it. But here's the other side of the stickiness. And this, you see how the felt's on this side? Well, this side you're gonna put felt on as well. So just line it up on the side like we did the other one, and you're gonna cut it off. And you can make as many of these as you want, so that maybe you want one for every one of your distress inks or colors or whatever. But what you get is basically like a little foam sandwich. The foam is in the middle, and then one side is going to be the side that's going to stick onto this, and then the other side is the part that you're going to be using to bleed. So I'm going to push it on there, and then I brought a tag so that, you know, I'm just going to bleed the edges. I'm not really an expert at this, but just so that you guys can see how this works. Here's the distress ink. This is the vintage photo. And I'm gonna grab it and just, you know, do a couple of swabs on there and get the ink. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and do the edges here. I'm not sure how it compares to it. I mean, you guys will be the judge. If you guys want to go ahead and just buy it, it's just about $5 at Michael's. But I had this, and usually when I go, I want to do some, you know, other type of shopping. I usually end up getting more stamps or more of the things that I already have, but just, you know, different designs. And usually I forget about the bleeding tool, or I just get like these, you know, distress inks, and I don't buy the bleeding tool because I want the ink instead.